So real estate sales are about to change dramatically. I'm sure you've heard about the real estate commission lawsuits, but the question is, what will change for buyers and what will change for buyers agents? The recent real estate commission lawsuits have brought about new rules and structures that every buyer needs to understand. So let's break down what these changes mean and how will they impact you as a buyer. By the end of this video, you should be much more prepared to navigate the home buying market with these new rules in place. So first, let's talk about how commission currently works when you buy a home. Up until now, the sellers traditionally paid the commission for both their agent and the agent that brings them a buyer. This commission is pre-negotiated between the listing agent and the seller. And once they agree on this percentage, the commission for the buyer's agent is published in the MLS with the listing. This means that any agent can take a look at the listing and see what commission the seller is going to pay them. This has always been negotiable, and it's always been up to the seller to determine how much they offer. In Sonoma County, this percentage has typically been 2.5% or 3%. By offering this commission, the sellers incentivize thousands of agents who've got access to this information to bring them a buyer. The buyer's agent only needs to be a member of that MLS to ensure that they'll be paid upon closing if they bring the buyer. The good thing about this system was that it's incredibly simple to simultaneously have thousands of agents working for the seller, increasing the odds of a fast sale for top dollar. Another advantage is, generally speaking, the seller typically would have cash available at closing to pay for the agent's services, while the buyer often has little to no cash at closing to pay for representation, particularly in an environment like we have now when interest rates are 7%. Of course, there are downsides to the current system, which is the reason why everything is going to be changing. First, the seller usually felt compelled to offer a standard commission rate for the buyer's agent, as there was fear that if they didn't, their house might not sell for the right price, or it might not sell at all. This also left the buyer with little to no leverage on what and how their agent gets paid, no matter what kind of experience they had with the agent. So while the buyer wasn't directly paying their agent, the commission was still indirectly paid by the buyer, as it was built into the sales price of the home. And you can see how this will be frustrating for a buyer for sure. Whenever any seller is looking at the price they're going to sell their home for, they should be looking at the net amount to them after commission, all closing costs, improvement, staging, etc. The reality is that a lot of sellers look at the price it's listed for, or the price of the offer, rather than looking at the net amount of money to them. But more about that later. So the biggest problem with the current system is since the buyer's agent doesn't have to convince their client, who's the buyer, how much they should be paid for their services, that agent may not be as motivated to deliver value beyond an executed purchase agreement and close escrow, because they're going to get paid no matter what happens with the buyer. So what is changing and when? Before we dive into that, my name's David and I publish weekly videos to help you better navigate the real estate market in Sonoma County and in particular in Healdsburg. If you are finding this video useful, please hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss other videos that will help you on your real estate journey. Now, what is changing for commissions? Starting soon, most likely in August, the MLS will no longer be publishing any commissions that are offered to the buyer's agent. That doesn't mean sellers won't continue to offer something to the buyer's agent, they just won't be able to publish it in the MLS. They could add incentives like a credit for closing costs that can then be used towards the buyer's obligation to their agent, just like loan closing costs. The difference is that the money will not be paid directly from the seller to the buyer's agent. It will be funneled via a more indirect payment mechanism. It won't be as visible, and an agent representing a buyer will no longer able to assume the seller will pay a buyer's commission, whether that's 2.5%, 3%, as was previously the case. The other, even bigger change is that both the Realtor Association and brokerages, in my case W Real Estate, will require that buyer's agents enter into an agency agreement with their clients. So let me explain. If you've ever sold a house, your agent will require you to sign a contractual agreement that essentially locks you into a period of time where this agent gets to exclusively market your property and represent you in the sale of that home for a predefined fee or commission. If you've ever purchased a home or are actively working with someone to help you find a home, you may just be realizing you don't have and have never signed an agreement like this with your agent. I mean, maybe they showed you some homes and wrote an offer or 12, then somehow got paid at closing. Well, going forward, buyer's agents will be required to make you aware of what they're charging and sell you on the value they offer, and get you to sign an agreement just like a listing agent always has. Personally, I think this is a good thing. Up until now, while buyer's agreements have always existed, I've always worked with clients on a trust basis, so getting buyers to sign an exclusive agreement is going to be a big change. But it's a big change that I'm looking forward to, and I believe that it will ultimately benefit consumers the most. As with many things in life, the 80-20 rule exists in real estate. 80% of the realtors make 20% of the commission, and then 20% of the realtors make 80% of the commission. That's just how it works. And what's more, 80% of realtors make little or no money and quit the industry within 2 years of joining. So as with any business, the more competitive and successful agents have to work hard. They've got to win customers and demonstrate their value. They have to get better and better at serving their clients' needs. I mean, as a top producing agent in my market and part of the biggest team in Sonoma County, we know that we can offer more value and a better service than many other agents. I see more homes, I see more deals, and I know more ways I can save clients money. It's like anything. The more you practice, the better you get. So with the old system, buyers just had to say to an agent, sure, you can show me this house. And before they knew it, they'd committed to working with them to somebody who's totally unproven. Going forward, I love the idea that I'll have to explain my entire value proposition and people will have to actively decide to work with me. It truly is a win for me and a win for my clients. One of the reasons I've always been an entrepreneur, dating back to when I set up my own marketing agency, is that I back myself to provide a service that clients value and are happy to pay for. So how will it change how people work with me? It won't change that much, but it will mean that I'll spend longer explaining how I work, the services I offer, and the value I bring. And then I'll be asking buyers if they want to work with me. If they do, they need to sign a buyer's agreement before I onboard them as a client, which from my point of view is great. I only want to work with buyers who are committed to me and vice versa. It's a much better relationship all round. And that agreement will obviously have to state how much I charge for my services. I mean, I'll still provide free content via my website, but I'll now be tiering content, so only signed up clients will get access to certain specific resources and be made aware of off-market properties. For example, I've got a website where I only put vacation rental eligible properties, and I also send a weekly email to people who are actively looking for a vacation rental. Well, starting soon, only buyers who I've got an agreement with will get access to resources like that. I'm actually excited to work more closely with fewer buyers who I know are committed to me and vice versa. So where can agents really add the value? Well, it's funny, I've never really thought too much about the specific areas where I add value, because I came into this industry 4 years ago. I won Agent of the Year out of 250 agents in my brokerage in my 3rd year, and then last year teamed up with another agent to become the largest team in Sonoma County. So we've been pretty successful. However, when I think about some of the value I have added in just the last month, here are a couple of examples. I started working with a couple who lost out on a house that I actually secured for another client. Within 2 weeks, I found them a home and managed to negotiate it for $85,000 under the asking price, when my clients they'd thought they'd have to pay close to asking price. That's an immediate, significant saving for those clients. I had another client get accepted on a $2 million plus home, and through the course of escrow, we negotiated an additional $65,000 off due to a nuance with the septic system, which, if the seller's agent had been smart about it, it could have been avoided. I mean, my client was the beneficiary and the seller lost out on $65K. That more than pays the commissions in that particular instance. It's situations like this which hopefully make clients feel I bring real value to the table by being hardworking, being diligent, and always trying to get them the best possible deal. So how will I get paid as a buyer's agent? Well, if we write an offer, we have a couple of ways we can get paid. We can write a commission agreement with the offer stating that the seller will be providing a credit towards the buyer's closing costs, which will obviously then be baked into the price. The other alternative is that the buyer will pay us directly and then we will adjust our offer price accordingly. So just as with sellers, the key for the buyer will be to look at the net cost of buying the home, taking everything into account, the purchase price, the closing costs, which may also include the buyer's agent commission. Of course, there will be some challenges during this transition that you should be aware of for sure. So let's say you're interested in a house listed for $1 million and the seller is not offering any commission for the buyer's agent. So let's say your agreement with me is that I'm to be paid 2.5% for my services at closing. This means that potentially this $1 million home will cost you $1.25 million when you take into account the commission. Or more likely, you'll offer $975,000 and then pay me approximately $24K, so your net purchase price is approximately $1 million. So when we're looking at what the house is worth, we're looking at comps. We'll need to determine if an identical house that sold for $1 million included the commission or it didn't include the commission. In other words, whether you're a buyer or a seller, we need to start looking at the net purchase price and the net seller price. I mean, this is a big shift. The headline purchase price is no longer the number we should be focusing on. There's no question that in certain instances, this potential for buyer paid commission may confuse home values and cause some issues with appraisals and negotiations. It may be an unintended consequence that, well, at least temporarily, the pursuit to lower the cost to consumers by eliminating compelled commission amounts may actually increase home buyer costs. So one thing is for sure, please take this opportunity to never again work with a buyer's agent simply because they were first to respond or happened to be an open house, or they were on the end of the phone when you called about a home listed on Realtor.com or Zillow.com. Make them demonstrate why they are the best option for you, how you'll save them time, how you'll save them money, and what strategies they will employ to make sure you get the best offer on the best home accepted. If we do that, then we all win. Make them demonstrate why they're the best option for you, how they'll save you money and time, and what strategy they will employ to make sure you win when you write an offer on that home you love. If we do that, then we will all be winners. If you made it this far in the video, you're possibly considering buying a home. It's crucial to understand these new commission structures and choose an agent who can provide real value. So I'd love it if you could subscribe to our channel and leave a comment with any questions or thoughts below. And if you're looking to buy or sell in Sonoma County, feel free to contact me directly, david@brewingtonhargreaves.com, or my cell phone is 415-260-7814. I'd love to be your real estate resource of choice. Until next time, stay informed and make the best decisions for your real estate needs. Until the next video, go well.